Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So within today's video, I do want to speak about two things that Barcelona should fix this season, which is going to be regarding Lewandowski and also Alejandro Balde. Now, just to make things very clear, I'm not necessarily going to be bashing on these two players. Like, yes, I am going to be critiquing them, but this is us just trying to fine tune some things for FC Barcelona so they can get better through this season. It's only nitpicking at this point, and this is what's going to lead towards players like Alejandro Balde and Lewandowski. You guys will know exactly what I do mean by this by naming these two players as we go through this video. So we are 1 week away from Barcelona returning from international break, and I know that Xavi Hernandez has been on the whiteboard putting the pen on paper, drawing out ideas on what Barcelona can improve on by the time we do return from this 2-week break. And to be very honest, I found this team with not a lot of problems, which is why I did say a couple of seconds ago that it's just fine-tuning certain things. We're just tweaking certain things just so Barcelona can be even better. I think that Barcelona overall, they have improved compared to last year. We're way more intense. We are so locked defensively, but here is what's going to lead us towards the first point, and that is the goal kicks going to Lewandowski. Every time Ter Stegen is making a goal kick, whether he's being pressed or because they're restarting play, one of the main outlets that Ter Stegen is looking to, it is Lewandowski. And usually when Lewandowski receives those balls, he loses it about 80% of the time. Now, in plays like this, when Ter Stegen is making that long kick all the way into Lewandowski or to any other striker, right, there's always a 50-50 chance, but Lewandowski barely does anything when he does find himself in those sequences. So for example, we can see Lewandowski here, he's in the air, and this was against Real Madrid, but he loses the ball. And then you can see that Lewandowski was trying to explain to Rafinha, hey, look, you should have ran to that open space there. That is where I was trying to put the ball, but it's just like there's so much complications going on when they try to win the ball. Another example is this. Alejandro Balde is making a long pass to Lewandowski. Lewandowski again has to win it in the air, and he tries to pass it to Ansu Fati with his head, and even tries to order him to go for the ball, but it just doesn't end up being completed. So things can be improved. I'm not saying that Lewandowski should always 100% successfully head the ball in the correct space so the players can find it, but I think that it can be improved because every time we do lose the ball, whether it's either Alejandro Balde making that long pass to Lewandowski or Ter Stegen making that long pass to Lewandowski, the opposition gets the ball and then they go on the counter, and Barcelona do have to suffer. I think that we can do so much better. Like, look at this example here. We can see at Manchester City, one of the players is aiming for Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland heads the ball and goes straight to one of the City players, and now they're all set up to go on to the attack. And that is what I basically want to see from FC Barcelona. But unfortunately, right now we have to improve on that. We can't do something like this as of now. I can see the intentions. I can see that Lewandowski wants to make that one touch to either Rafinha or Ansu Fati, but it does not end up being completed. Rafinha, I think, should be the main person and the first person to touch the ball when the ball is in the air, whether it's Ter Stegen making a goal kick or Alejandro Balde making that long pass into the air. Rafinha should be the target because he's much more intense in the air, and once he does have the ball on the ground, he can also do a lot with it. Just look at these plays here. We can see Rafinha going for the ball first instead of Lewandowski against Sevilla and also Real Madrid, and they end up winning the ball, and Barcelona go on the counter, and you can see that Barcelona is highly benefiting from that. And I do believe that also when we analyze these plays, Lewandowski should be the second or third man to receive the ball or to touch the ball after Rafinha does win it. And here's going to be another thing that I want to talk about in regards to Lewandowski. I really want Barcelona to avoid having Lewandowski in places where he's receiving the ball in very deep areas. Like, I don't understand why Xavi Hernandez is allowing Lewandowski to go this deep. Like, if we look at the graph here, we can see that in these central spaces, Xavi allows Lewandowski to be in the central spaces of our own half when that should not be the case. The only time Lewandowski can occupy those central spaces is by the opposition's half. That is where I do want to see Lewandowski living at, because if you place him on the other side, it's just too much risk, and he's almost acting like a central defensive midfielder. Let me give you guys an example. These are going to be examples coming from Barcelona versus Manchester United. Lewandowski receives the ball in a very deep area against United. He's in an area where he's not very familiar with, and you can see that Lewandowski has a very big passing opportunity where he can eliminate 4 to 5 players, but he doesn't do that. He doesn't see it. He just continues to take the ball back even further into our own half, and that's again a huge risk. Eventually the ball ends up going to Koundé because Araujo makes that pass, but it took too long. It allowed more time for Manchester United to reshape themselves and to get into better positions to defend FC Barcelona, but that needs to be much quicker. We need to find those faster passes, those faster opportunities. I think that if this was Rafinha going deep in those areas, he would have definitely saw that pass and make that pass as fast as possible. And here's going to be another example. Here we can see Lewandowski picking up the ball in the opposition's central zone, so he's in a very good area. This is where we want to see Lewandowski live at. And then you can see that there is a very big opening and a lot of space on the right side, and Rafinha is begging for that ball. He's begging for that pass, but Lewandowski was either too slow or he was not able to see that passing lane to lend the ball, and the opportunity just vanished. And we have to tackle those opportunities because that's what's going to allow Rafinha to find more goals or assists and to allow Barcelona to find more goal scoring opportunities. And we have seen this many times. I know that you guys have seen Lewandowski be in positions where he could have passed it to that man, but he doesn't end up doing it, either because he simply just does not see it or because he's simply just too slow. So I hope that we can improve on that. And if not, if maybe for some reason it just has something to do with like the speed of your plays, then hopefully next season we can see someone like Vitor Roque implement plays like this. Because in order to make decisions like this and to find those passes fast, like what Rafinha was begging for, it requires fast thinking and faster reflex. So now I do want to move on towards Alejandro Balde. Now look, don't get me wrong, Alejandro Balde is the left back of the future, not just for FC Barcelona, but Alejandro Balde will be seen as one of the best left backs in the world in a few years. He's a monster in 1v1 duels. He's also a monster in 1v2 duels. He made that definitive assist to Kessie against Real Madrid. He also just made an assist with Spain versus Norway. So he's really learning on how Alejandro Balde used to make those assists. So you combine what he has been bringing out athletic wise and then what he is learning from Jordi Alba in the final third, you have a monster left back, but his game can be greatly improved. And that is what I do want to speak about, because here we can see Alejandro Balde trying to play out from the back and he's being pressed aggressively. This is where I do think Alejandro Balde's weakness is, but he can improve on it. So we can see that Athletic Club are really pressing Alejandro Balde. He believes that he lacks options, and so he decides to run with the ball but loses the ball and gives Athletic Club a huge chance to almost score. Now if we look back at this play, you can see that Koundé and Frankie were options. The number 7 chose to leave Frankie free on the flank and went on to get Alejandro Balde, and that is where Alejandro Balde could have just passed the ball to Frankie de Jong and moved forward. So I'm not saying that Alejandro Balde is a very bad left back for whatever reason you guys may be thinking. He just lacks experience. That's basically it. And I understand that in times like this in the game, when you are being cornered and you're being pressed aggressively, it's very hard to think about what you're going to be doing next. Here's going to be an example on how Nathan Ake responded with high press when he was being cornered. He quickly finds Walker on the other side, and that is because there's always going to be space on the other side when you are being cornered, when the opposition is sending so many players on that specific side. So maybe Alejandro Balde could think of something like this, and maybe Xavi Hernandez can say, hey look, when you are being cornered, quickly look on the other side or look down the flank, and you are going to be finding those options. Here is going to be another example of Marcos Alonso also being pressed in a very similar situation of Alejandro Balde. You can see that Busquets is open, Frankie de Jong is also open, but the communication was missing, which is why Marcos Alonso almost in a way just wanted to kick it out. And you can see that Alejandro Balde was trying to tell Marcos Alonso, hey look, Frankie is free down the flank, pass it right there, but it just did not end up happening. And here's also going to be another example of Alejandro Balde yet again receiving the ball, and this was against Real Madrid, and this screams, right, it screams for Frankie to be more in a advanced area, which is to be in that box that was being held from Real Madrid that included Carvajal, Camavinga, Modric, and Valverde. That is where Frankie should have been in order for him to make himself as an outlet or an option for Alejandro Balde. So these are kind of like answers and ideas on what to do when Balde is being cornered, because a lot of these teams are doing this against the most inexperienced defender in our back line. So these are just ideas, and I hope that Barcelona can improve in certain plays like this. Again, this is just me nitpicking. Overall, like 99% of Barcelona's game is so well organized, and this is the reason why Barcelona is 12 points ahead of Real Madrid and why we are conceding very little goals. I'm so proud of this team, but again, let's see what Barcelona does once we do return from the international break. That is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.